Welcome and or welcome back to my channel. I'm Hannah Blackwell, and today I am super excited to be bringing you my most anticipated book releases of 2023. So I have a good amount of books on here, but not too many because I actually want to be able to discuss their synopsis in detail a little bit with you today. So I'm just going to go through them. Most of them are fantasy or fantasy romance, and there are a couple of other things in here too, kind of mixed in. But I'm just going to go through them. They're not chronological from release date because I just couldn't be bothered to do that. But I will let you know what the release dates are, either like verbally or I'll pop it up here on the screen. If you have not already subscribed, I would love to have you subscribe to my channel. Click the like button if you like videos like this, and comment down below and let me know what is your most anticipated book release of 2023. All of my social media is linked down below, including my Goodreads Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And let's just go ahead and get into this video. If you see me looking down in this corner, that's because that's where I have my computer and I'm looking at the books and the synopsis on Goodreads on here. The first book on this list is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chachki. This book is being released on February 14th, and it is like a gothic horror thriller fantasy romance. So maybe harkening back to like Rebecca a bit, I'm not sure. But it does say that this book is almost like a mix between Mexican Gothic and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue somehow, which kind of confuses and intrigues me. But it's about a man who marries this woman, and she makes him promise not to dig into her past, but then her aunt gets sick and they go back to her childhood home, and he discovers there was this other girl named Azure that she used to play with, and he starts digging into their past, and he basically, it says, the bridegroom will be forced to choose between reality and fantasy, even if doing so threatens to destroy their marriage or their lives. The next book I have on this list is A Crown of Ivy and Glass by Claire Legrand. This book is a fantasy romance. It is the first book in a fantasy romance trilogy called the Middlemist Trilogy. And this book, it says, Lady Gemma Ashbourne seemingly has it all. She's young, gorgeous, and rich. Her family was anointed by the gods, blessed with incredible abilities, but underneath her glittering facade, Gemma is deeply sad. Years ago, her sister Mara was taken to the Middlemist to guard against treacherous magic. Her mother abandoned the family. Her father and eldest sister Farron, embroiled in a deadly blood feud with the mysterious Basque family, often forget Gemma exists. It also says Gemma is the only Ashbourne to possess no magic. So there's a lot of like tropes in here that we see often in fantasy books and fantasy romance books. So she looks to be kind of like the black sheep of the family, and her body fights magic like a poison. She's constantly ill, aching with loneliness. Gemma craves love and yearns to belong. Then she meets the devastatingly handsome Talon Dastier. His family destroyed themselves, seduced by a demon, and Talon was the only survivor. So Talon wants to redeem the honor of his family, and Gemma proposes him a bargain. She'll help Talon navigate high society if he helps her destroy the Basques. And so they basically get together to help each other out, and the story goes from there. And it looks really good. This book is going to be released on May 9th. And it is a fantasy romance, adult fantasy romance from what it looks like. The next book I have on here is Lies We Sing to the Sea. It's by Sarah Underwood. This book looks to be being released March 7th, 2023. And the synopsis says, each spring Ithaca condemns 12 maidens to the New. So this is the price Poseidon demands for the lives of Queen Penelope's 12 maids, hanged and cast into the depths centuries ago. We have basically a Greek myth retelling. I believe this is a fantasy romance that is young adult, and it's also sapphic. We have our main character, Leto, and she's been condemned to die, but instead of dying, she wakes up on a mysterious island and meets a girl with green eyes and the power to command the sea. A girl named Melantho, who says one more death can stop 1,000. Wow, that sounds really good. And anything sapphic fantasy romance, sign me up. The next I have on here is The Witch and the Vampire. and this is written by Francesca Flores, and this is going to be released in March, on March 21st. This looks to be another YA fantasy romance, but this looks to be a sapphic or queer Rapunzel retelling where a witch and a vampire who trust no one but themselves must journey together through a cursed forest with danger at every turn. I love Rapunzel. It's one of my favorite fairy tales. The cover for this is beautiful. And then also, like I said, I'm loving that there's so many more sapphic fantasy romances coming out. I'm really excited for that. Next, we have an epic adult fantasy, and this is called The Lies of the Ajingo. This is by Moses Oze Utomi. I hope I pronounced that correctly. This is the first book in the Forever Desert series, and it looks really good. I've really enjoyed the desert fantasies I've read so far, and I want to read more. I have a lot on my physical TBR, and I mean, I have a lot in general on my physical TBR that I need to get to, so one day. But I'm adding this to my anticipated releases because it looks bomb. They say there is no water in the city of lies. They say there are no heroes in the city of lies. They say there are no friends beyond the city of lies. But would you believe what they say in the city of lies? In the city of lies, they cut out your tongue when you turn 13 to appease the terrifying Ajingo Empire and to make sure that it continues sending water. Tutu will be 13 in 3 days, but his parched mother won't last that long, so Tutu goes to his Oba and makes a deal. She provides water for his mother. In exchange, he will travel out into the desert and bring back water for the city. Thus begins Tutu's quest for salvation of his mother, his city, and himself. Sounds beautiful. I think this may be a novella. Based, and it looks to be fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian, adult novella. And it is going to be released on March 31st, 2023. And that looks really good. That's released by Tor too, and Tor has some great novellas. Next, I have a sci-fi. It's called Infinity Gate by M.R. Carey. This is an adult sci-fi that the synopsis says the Pandemonium is a political and trading alliance consisting of roughly 1 million worlds. So we have a huge, huge expansive universe, but they're really all the same world, Earth, in many different dimensions. When an AI threat arises that could destroy everything, the Pandemonium, I think I'm saying a Pandemonium, I'm not sure. Pandemonium. When an AI threat arises that could destroy everything the Pandemonium has built, they'll eradicate it by whatever means necessary, no matter the cost of human life. This is an adult sci-fi book that looks really good. The release date for this is March 23rd, 2023. It's being released by Orbit. Next, I have another YA fantasy, and this is Spice Road. It's the first book in the Spice Road trilogy by Maya Ibrahim. This is an Arabian-inspired epic fantasy series that like I said, I think it's probably like an older YA. It says, raised to protect her nation from monsters lurking in the sands, 17-year-old Imani must fight her brother, whose betrayal is now their greatest threat. In the hidden desert of Kalia, secret spice magic awakens affinities in those who drink the Misra tea. With an affinity for iron, 17-year-old Imani wields a dagger like no other warrior, garnering her the reputation as the next greatest shield for battling the dangerous jinn, ghouls, and other monsters that lurk in the sands beyond the city limits. Imani will soon discover there are many secrets that lie beyond the forbidden waste and in her own heart. But will she find her brother before his betrayals endanger the fate of all of Kalia? Sounds beautiful, sounds really good, and I'm excited to read that one for sure. Next, I have an adult fantasy or adult fantasy romance, I'm not sure. And it is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is Emily Wilde #1. So it looks like this may become a series. It's written by Heather Fawcett. And the synopsis says, a curmudgeon professor journeys to a small town in the far north to study fairy folklore and discovers dark fae magic, friendship, and love in this heartwarming and enchanting fantasy. Sounds so good. Anything that says like heartwarming and enchanting, just really excited for. It's set to be released very soon, actually, January 10th, 2023, and it looks very good. I'm excited for that one for sure. Next, I have a queer adult fantasy called Dragonfall. It is the first book in the Dragon Scales trilogy, and this is by Laura Lamb. It says, long ago, humans betrayed dragons, stealing their magic and banishing them to a dying world. Centuries later, their descendants worship dragons as gods. But the gods remember, and they do not forgive. Thief Arcady scrapes a living on the streets of Vatra. Desperate, Arcady steals a powerful artifact from the bones of the Plague Bringer, the most hated person in Lumet history. Only Arcady knows the artifact's magic holds the key to a new life among the nobles at court and a chance for revenge. The spell connects to Everin, the last male dragon foretold to save his kind, dragging him through the veil. Disguised as a human, Everin soon... Oh, that's really cool that he is a dragon disguised as a human. Everin soon learns that to regain his true power and form and fulfill his destiny, he only needs to convince one thief to trust him enough to bond completely, body, mind, and soul, and then kill them. So maybe a fantasy romance. It sounds queer, sounds really good. Yet, the closer the two become, the greater the risk. Both of the worlds will shatter. This book comes out on May 2nd, 2023. I'm really excited for it. Next, I have possibly like the most gorgeous cover ever. This is the Surviving Sky. It looks to be the first in the Rages series by Kritika H. Rao. I hope I'm saying that correctly. This is a Hindu philosophy-inspired debut science fiction fantasy, and it follows a husband and wife racing to save their living city and their troubled marriage, high above a jungle world besieged by cataclysmic storms. It sounds so magical, and it's just really cool. So, high above a jungle planet float the last refugees of humanity, plant-made civilizations held together by tradition, technology, and arcane science. In these living cities, architects are revered above anyone else. If not for their ability to physically manipulate the architecture, the cities would plunge into devastating earth rage storms below. So this sounds really cool. And there's a possible like marriage in trouble, like second chance romance. We'll see about that. And this is released on June 13th, 2023. I'm really excited for this one. And this is, like I said, an adult fantasy sci-fi. This says queer as well. So yeah, this sounds really good. I have a couple of sequels here too. I have A Day of Fallen Night, which is not really a sequel, but it's a prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. And I'm very excited to pick this one up. I loved Priory of the Orange Tree. I give it 4 stars. I can't wait to see what she does with the sequel. I think it might even be like a couple pages longer than the first book. And so yeah, I'm not sure if I can say what this is about. I think you would read Priory first, but it is a prequel. It says Tunuva Melem is a sister of the Priory for 50 years. She is trained to slay worms, but none have appeared since the Nameless One, and the younger generation is starting to question the Priory's purpose. To the north, in the Queendom of Ennis, Sabrin the Ambitious has married the new king Haroth, narrowly saving both realms from ruin. Their daughter, Glorian, trails in their shadow exactly where she wants to be. The dragons in the east have slept for centuries. Dumai has spent her life in a Sychanese mountain temple trying to wake the gods from their loving slumber. Now someone from her mother's past is coming to upend her fate. When the Dreadmount erupts, bringing with it an age of terror and violence, these women must find the strength to protect humankind from a devastating threat. I love how Samantha Shannon really makes women the warriors and saviors in her books. I just love that, and I'm really excited for that one. I know I said like a couple sequels, but I don't know what I was talking about. This is The Adventures of Amani Al-Sharif, and this is a new series by S.A. Chakraborty or Shannon Chakraborty, and I'm really excited for this one. I loved the David Vad trilogy. That was such a good trilogy. And I'm excited to see what she does with this because I think this one involves pirates. And y'all know I love a good pirate story. So This is a new trilogy of magic and mayhem on the high seas in this tale of pirates and sorcerers. Ah, it sounds so good. Forbidden artifacts and ancient mysteries in one woman's determined quest to seize a final chance at glory. I'm really excited for this one. This is coming out on March 2nd, and I just can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm really excited for this. So this is going to be an adult fantasy, and I mean, S.A. Chakraborty and Pirates, say less. Like, I just can't wait to read that. The next I have is The Foxglove King by Hannah Witten. This is the same author as the For the Wolf duology, and this is her new series called The Nightshade Kingdom. And it says, in this lush romantic new epic fantasy series, a young woman's secret power to raise the dead plunges her into the dangerous and glamorous world of the sainted king's royal court. And when Laura was 13, she escaped a cult in the catacombs beneath the city of Delaire. And in the 10 years since, she's lived by one rule: don't let them find you. Easier said than done when her death magic ties her to the city. Mortem, the magic born from death, is a high-priced and illicit commodity in Delaire, and Laura's job running poisons keeps her in food, shelter, and relative security. But when a run goes wrong and Laura's power is revealed, she's taken by the Presque Mort, a group of warrior monks sanctioned to use Mortem, working for the sainted king. Laura fully expects a pyre, as in she suspects that she's going to be unalived. But King August has a different plan. Entire villages on the outskirts of the country have been dying overnight, seemingly at random. Laura can either use her magic to find out what's happening and who in the king's court is responsible, or die. This is adult or YA. It's got both of these tagged here, so I'm not quite sure yet. It may be like an older YA or like a younger adult, if you know what I'm saying, but this looks to be a fantasy romance, and I'm very excited for it. Finally, the last book on this list is Grady Hendrix' How to Sell a Haunted House. This comes out on January 17th, and I have really enjoyed Grady Hendrix so far. I gave The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires 5 stars, and then I gave My Best Friend's Exorcism 4 stars, and I'm excited for this one for sure. I've heard that it might not actually quite be a haunted house story. It may actually be more of like a haunted doll story, that there was an issue with the naming of this book, and maybe it shouldn't have been named this. I'm not sure, but I am still excited to read it. I'm glad I know that going in, so I don't have the wrong expectations. But it sounds wonderful, and I'm excited for all of these books, and there's, I'm sure, more than I'm missing. I'm still just learning how to research new releases. This is kind of new for me, and I'm excited about all the ones that I've found. Please let me know what you are looking forward to being released in 2023, because I'd love to find more new releases. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and click the like button. And as always, all of my social media is linked down below, including my Goodreads, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Until next time, fellow readers, keep reading and living your best life.